So I'm going to talk about NFTs and art, and I'm going to address firstly how NFTs are facilitating emerging digital art movements, and then I'm going to talk about how they're being used to protect traditional or historical collections and estates. So the first myth is that NFTs are art, and NFTs are not art. They can never be art. NFTs are digital certificates of ownership, and art is just one of the many assets that they're used to represent and authenticate. Technically speaking, what an NFT is it's a non-fungible token. And non-fungible means that it's not interchangeable, that it's unique. And a token means that it's a unit of data that is stored on a blockchain ledger. So in the case of digital artwork, this data would include information about the sales history. So you'd have the complete provenance, you'd have everyone it's ever been sold to, how much it's been sold to, so on. You'd have a description of the asset, and in the case of digital pieces, you would have a link to that asset. One of the biggest issues around NFTs is that the NFT digital art market is often conflated with the NFT collectible market. So one of the most iconic NFT collections is the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They're super recognizable. Many of you might know them. They're these kind of 2D cartoons of monkeys, and they sell for astronomically high prices. I think the top grossing one was 3.3 million. And they've been largely decried in the press, where everyone's like, why are people spending so much money on this rubbish artwork? And the answer is that they're not artworks, they're collectibles, so they're more akin to membership cards. And if you own one, you get exclusive access not only to public spaces, but to private chat rooms that are filled with other high net worth individuals. And people do what's called like trading alpha, which is where you basically share market insights. And the digital art market is super distinct. And one of the movements that's really kind of blown up and exploded is the generative art movement. So generative art is any art that involves the use of an autonomous system to introduce randomness. So Mozart actually used to make loads of generative symphonies. So he would take a dice and he would assign a fragment of music to every number on the dice, and then he would just endlessly roll them, and the symphony would be, ordered by that randomized roll. But of course, if you want to introduce randomness, the best tool you can use is a computer. That is, just a kind of taste of the digital art movements that NFTs are facilitating. But I'm going to talk now about how they're also being used to protect traditional collections. And this is usually because of their power as fundraising tools and also archiving tools. How do you fundraise when either you can't or you don't want to sell off chunks of your estate? And William Lobkowitz, who's one of the youngest members of the family, identified NFTs and digital versions as the ideal solution. And so they launched the NF Castle fundraiser, where they released a series of NFTs, and each NFT had leveraged digital tools to kind of add new dimensions and life to the artwork. For example, this piece, which is called Unseen Gaze, what they did is they got a 500-year-old painting, which was called David with the Head of Goliath by Paolo Veronese, and they x-rayed it, and they basically discovered kind of all the former iterations of the painting underneath the layer. And they discovered that there had previously been a figure standing behind David. And artwork that the NFT authenticated was a motion reel of those previous iterations, like coming and going and kind of like fading into life and then reappearing. And so, it added this whole new dimension to the painting that hadn't existed before. The main message that I'd want to convey about NFTs is that they are a nascent technology, they're new, they're tools, and they can be used in a myriad of ways that we don't even fully understand yet. But crucially, they aren't art pieces, and their real power is kind of behind the scenes through this archiving and this fundraising and this ability to sell and trade and record things in a new way.
What an actually fascinating evening, and I think you've really demystified is one way of describing it. You've really opened up the discussion on that from everyone on the panel, so I think a huge round of applause.